I feel like we're two old guys trying to figure out technology. We're like, how do I do this? And we're like, I look like an idiot with these giant ass headphones. You're wearing these glasses. You're squinting like this is purposefully on a small font, even though it's video.
Well, I usually have my reading glasses on, but
Yeah.
I'm trying not, you know, whenever possible, I'm trying not to wear them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I don't know, for some reason like your glasses fit perfectly because they're, you know, they're prescription glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you use readers, they you know, you drop them 100 times, they get bent out of shape.
Mm-hmm.
Before you know it, I'm sitting here, my glasses are like, you know,
Yeah.
but they're readers, they're cheap, you know.
Right. Right. You buy them in Dwayne Reed
Exactly.
next to the canes, which eventually you're gonna have to get at some point.
Yeah, they're all in the same area. The stuff for the back, the heating pads for the back and the neck,
Mm-hmm.
the readers, the canes that you can buy.
Right. It's all at an end cap for like the
Yeah.
geriatrics.
Well, yeah, well, that's at the end of the aisle. There's the readers,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and you know when they come out at some point. You know, I had the what was it? What's that called? AARP.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I guess when you turn 50, they start sending you the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So at first I'd get annoyed by it. You know, I throw it in the garbage. And one day I just took a peek at it, and it was like for $35 a year to join AARP,
Mm-hmm.
you get I think $50 worth of readers. And I'm
That's
like,
not bad.
yeah, this is like so worth it. Like
Right.
next thing you know, I'm joining AARP.
You're like
Where's my
you're
card, damn it? I paid my dues.
you're a high-ranking member in AARP.
I want my glasses. You know, when the card doesn't come in, it's like, wait a minute, I need new readers.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's so funny.
So your apartment looks pretty spacious there behind you. That's not a background, is it?
No. This is my actual place. I don't live like most comedians. No.
Yeah.
It's we've got a nice apartment. It's like a place where I don't mind being. Whereas like most comedians are like, they're in a closet, it's 6x8, and they're like, happy to be here. And they're just staring at the Zoom thing, hoping that there's a bet.
They're in their room.
Yeah.
They're outside. They're making a lot of noise, and
Right.
they're doing their podcast. You know,
They're looking into, like most comedians I think would be looking into the camera, looking at your space and going, feeling like it's now their space because it's added to how much space they have in their own apartment.
Yeah.
It's embarrassment.
Well, this what we're doing right now is obviously you're one of my best friends.
Mm-hmm.
This is for those who are kind enough to be watching us right now. This is my buddy KC Arora.
Mm-hmm.
He's an incredible comedian. Kunal Arora.
Yeah, it's all good.
I met you as KC.
Sure.
But, then he decided to go more ethnic on us.
I need more work. You're not doing it. It's your fault.
First, he wanted to get into the clubs by signing up as KC, and then you realize, wait a minute. If
I like how this is my fault. This is your fault. I opened for you.
Like every comedy club probably has their own Indian right now.
Of course.
You know, or two. But it's mostly just one. It's the way they used to spread out the black comics back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Every comedy club had one, like Wally Collins was the shit. You know, he used to be
Right.
on most of the places. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but we'll get to that. So Bill Cannon, we have a podcast. It's called Police Off the Cuff.
Right. Good podcast. I like it a lot.
Thank you so much. And I know you actually listen because you've actually asked me questions about it and been annoyed about it, whatever. So
yes, there is a lot of criticisms.
hey, good. I'm happy.
Right.
So then Bill and I started. We have a Patreon now.
Mm-hmm.
Police Off the Cuff at patreon.com. And so for there, we decided, we had to, provide our subscribers with extra content. So rather than both continue doing shows together, we figured it'd be easier for us to get content. So he does a true crime thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing, it was called One-on-One. So everything, you know how podcasts are. It's like, they're very specific. So ours have to do with law enforcement, but we keep it funny, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing a one-on-one thing. So it was somebody that probably wouldn't be the best guest for a show, our show together, like I had Eddie Malia, and he
Mm-hmm.
posed in Playboy magazine,
Right.
and he was a
Mm-hmm.
cop for 5 years, and then he posed in Playboy, and he got fired. And I grew up with him. We went to high school together. It was a phenomenal episode, but that's something that really was better geared towards my one-on-one. But it got really hard to get guests. And it was so law enforcement specific, fit that criteria. So I'm like, I have so many comedian friends. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just gonna do a show like that, and I'm gonna we'll make it law enforcement, even if it's just ask me a question, ask a cop.
Mm-hmm.
I'm your ask a cop, and everybody always has. As soon as they find out that I was a cop, or when I was a cop, they always have a question to ask. At least most of the time, it's stupid, and I hate answering it.
Right.
But whatever. I need a show, so that's what.
I hope you're going to cut all this part out, because this is not good content until we start what it is. So.
No, well, that's what I pretty much thought of. Ask a cop, and then
Mm-hmm.
since we're comedians, we'll freaking be able to go on any from that point on. We're on our way. But I figured we'd let's do a little background about you first before we do that. I asked you to come up with a question that you wanted to ask a cop. So, but before we do that, a little history on us.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first night I laid eyes on you. We were doing this show. I think it was in Jersey.
Right.
And I remember my girlfriend Connie. She says to me, "You were on stage." She goes, "Oh, this guy's really funny." And I never pay attention really to the other comics. And it's not because I'm a prick. It's just because I don't want to really I'm a laugher. I don't want
Right.
to get into laughing too much, because then I lose my energy I feel like I do anyway, that I'm going to lose my energy for my time on stage. So when I'm done, I'll watch everybody.
Right.
Before I go up, but that particular night when she said that, and in the background, I could hear the audience was really laughing loud, which was making me more nervous because I had to go up after you.
Right.
But when she said he's really funny, I took a chance. That's when I started paying attention to your set, and I was like, well, yeah, he is really good. So then when he came off the stage, I told you, I said, listen, sometimes I get gigs, and they're looking for other comics. So maybe I'll give you a call from time to time. And you were like, yeah, definitely. And then from that point on, we were thick as thieves, man, me and you.
I'm going to say this right now. I want to get this thing out of the way. If not for you, I don't think my career would be where it is. So let's just get that. To give people perspective of what I'm talking about, that night that you saw me, and I understand every comic has their own thing that they do before they get on stage. I feel like yours is, I've only got a certain amount of time to get in a few drinks in me. I'm not going to waste my time watching another comedian, which I respect. I respect that. So when you started using me as your opener, I think it was this one time where you hit me up and you're like, hey, there's a show in the Hamptons, no pay, there's food and a hotel. And I go, do I have to drive? And you go, no. And I'm like, I'm in. I got nothing to do. And because of that, then it was in front of the director for the UnMovers commercials.
Christian.
Yes, for Christian, right. Yeah. And because of you, I got that gig, man. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been on that show. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have gotten those commercials, man. This is a huge portion of my career is because of you. And I will never forget that. So
I appreciate that. But the truth of the matter is there's a certain amount of luck that plays into all of this, okay?
Right.
And like, for example, when Christian gave me the call, a lot of people, like, they're always just like, they have this attitude like, you got to be in there. You always got to be pushing, you got to, be aggressive. And then, like, I was sleeping. I was hungover. I had to get shots the night before. My phone rings. It's a number I don't know, which 99% of the time I don't answer. But for some reason, I answered. I'm like, hello? And he's like, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but my name is Christian. We met in the Hamptons. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I don't know who this. And then he was like, we saw you that night. We thought you'd be interested in maybe reading for this commercial. We think you'd be right for the lead. So it just goes to show you, you always, like me, I always try to help out anybody that I can, especially somebody that I think is funny.
Right.
If it wasn't me, somebody else was going to do it. You know, somebody else is going to put you on a show. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but it was you. So let's just, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like,
but I've had people that helped me out before. I always give credit to Donnell Rollins because, you know, when I first started out, he helped me out. You know, he put me on shows all the time, and you know, wherever he was hosting, and I was even on one of his CDs called Bootleg Comedy Volume 1. And we used to, you know, he gave me a box of them so I could sell after show. So he really taught me a lot about the business. So I think, you know, everybody has somebody that you pick, you know what I'm saying, that you're going to try to help out. Who wouldn't want to help out is everybody if they could, you know, but then there also is that moment there where you get a call and be like, hey, listen, would you be interested in, you know, doing 10 minutes for late night for Corbett? You know what I'm saying? On this day, are you available for that? And you're like, yeah. All right. And then you realize, oh, I'm part of a showcase. So, like, do you call up your friends and go, hey, man, you should call up so-and-so because they're doing a show? No, you don't do that. No way.
Of course. Right. You keep your mouth shut.
That's me. I got that call. I'm not calling up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it kind of weighs itself out, like how much you'll do for somebody, you know what I'm saying? Or but I think we all kind of sort of understand that in a way.
Yeah, but I was literally fixing a shelf in some person's office for TaskRabbit, and I'm just doing this job, and I'm like, oh God. And then you hit me up and you're like, it's tomorrow, it's a Friday. I'm like, no money? And you're like, there's no money left in the budget. And I was like, man, I got nothing better to do. You're promising me dinner. I'll take the gig. And it was not only was it was just a good time because it was me, you, and Leonard, and Joe. And
the way it worked out.
What's up?
It's funny the way it worked out. I mean, we all were. We wound up all doing that commercial together.
Yeah, the UnMovers commercials. For those who don't know, there was like 5 of them. It was great.
Yeah, and I had the Spanish one too.
Yeah, right. That's great. That's so insane. I can't believe you got into a Spanish UnMovers commercial. That's amazing.
When I used to audition, you know, early on in my when I first started, and they ask you, "Do you speak Spanish?" And I made the mistake of saying yes, because I do speak Spanish, but I don't read Spanish that well. I speak Spanish like the way I just speak it.
Right.
So now I'm going on all these auditions, and sometimes the copy would be like, you know, a whole billboard. You know how you stand 10 feet away, you're looking at the copy, which is like, it's like on one of those big
poster boards,
you know, and sometimes it's 2 lines. Siempre leo el diario cada día. You know, okay, you do that a couple of times, you'll get it. Right. Now I'm looking at whole copies. And then you'd get, you know, the casting director would get annoyed because they're hearing me read and they'd stop and be like, well, didn't you, it says here you speak Spanish. I'm like, yeah, I do, but I don't really read Spanish that well. You know what I'm saying? You know, there's no way you're going to get this. Actually, one guy told me one time, he goes, it's probably better if I don't even get you on tape. You know, this is, it's too much for you. All right, thanks, buddy. You know.
As soon as an agent knows you've got something different about you, they're going to capitalize on it so quickly. They're going to be like, wait. You're telling me you like to do fencing? Right. And it's just nonstop fencing commercials and weird ass ads. And you're like, I've done it once, man. I'm not a fencer.
You make the mistake of putting that down. I remember making the mistake of putting down martial arts on my resume, my acting resume, and then I'd go on a couple of these martial arts things, and I was doing martial arts, the boxer, but the way I actually got a part as a boxer on TV, but the martial arts aspect of it, they're like, okay, can you do a flying kick? I'm 6'4", 250. I'll put the shit out of your thigh right now if you want. You want a tie kick? Right, I'll break your knee.
Flying kick.
I can't do. And then you know, sometimes you get a chance to peek into the auditions, and this guy's jumping up, spinning around 3 times, doing a kick. You're like, nah, I'm like, I can't do that.
Right.
But in regards to the commercial, the funny thing about the Spanish one was that, we went through taping 3 days of that commercial because it was more like, it wasn't just a commercial, it was like a web series. So there was like 6 or 7 episodes of it. And, they didn't really stop us or interrupt us too much. We pretty much flew right through it. And then when it came time to do that Spanish one, man, because they had 2 people from Optimum, but Spanish Optimum, standing over there.
Mm-hmm.
And they were real nice, though. You know what I'm saying? So I did the first take in Spanish, thought it went well. And they're like, you see them whispering in each other's ear, and they're like, okay, can you say, I don't know, what was the line? Sí, mamá, ya estoy, la mudanza, something is going well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a whisper. So I'd say it again. Now we're going 15 takes in. Over there, like afterwards, and I'm like, is that one good for you right now? Because I'm ready to fight.
Right.
You're kidding me right now. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
Same way, or I did exactly what because they just had to justify their jobs.
I was just about to say that. It's always about, if someone's standing there and their job is to have an opinion, they're gonna have one.
Oh,
yeah.
So, I was getting annoyed. I almost went Orson Welles on them.
I don't get the reference.
Well, Orson Welles had one commercial, and they kept cutting them off, and he fucking freaked out. It's like a famous, one of these famous things. Anyway.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the reference.
An old people reference.
Okay.
So yeah, the commercial, and you kind of sort of know me because like, how what a bitch I can be. I was in a really foul mood this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what happened. And the fact that you can tolerate me for long drives, I got to give you credit.
Thank you, man. It's it's always interesting at the very least. Sometimes it'll be, I remember one time this was years ago, me, you, and Sergio Chacon are doing a show. Uh-huh. And it's a cop benefit. And you do a lot of these because, you used to be a cop. And it was awful. We just, I bombed, Sergio didn't do well. You did great, right? Because, this is your people, you understand. And you're moving around doing your thing. And then afterwards you're talking to people. And me and Sergio are just ready to go. Because the gig was at like 7:30. And I had a gig at midnight in Queens. And I go, yo, Mark, I gotta get home by midnight. We're not even that far from Manhattan. We're probably like 30 minutes out. Yeah. And I'm like, it's like 9 o'clock, 9:30. And you're like, yeah, we'll go in a little bit. You're just still socializing. You're just you're not a social butterfly. You're a social hawk. Like you were just out there talking to people. 10:30, 11, 11:30.
You remember this.
Yeah. And then we get in the car. It's like 11:45. And I'm like, and he's like, you toss me the keys. Like, yo, can you drive? And I go, all right, fine, I guess I'll try. And then you go, take the George Washington, which is way north than where I need to be. And it's now it's like 12:10.
You must have forgotten that you had that gig.
No. This is what happens. We're driving back, and it's the funniest thing in the world because you go, I'm driving back, and you go, didn't you have a gig at like midnight? And I go, yeah, I did. And you're like, oh. And then you went back to sleep, and then you go, and then I drove through the Lincoln Tunnel because I was so I was like, no, there's no way in hell I'm going all the way north. And me and Sergio were just dying at the fact that you were just like, man, what do you want? I forget. Because I don't take that as, I take that as, it's like, who gives a shit? You're there to have a good time. That's what I respect about you, dude.
Well, but you must have called me at the tail end of a good time, though, because something happened where, I think it has to do with age in a way.
Right.
50, and then now 53. It's like everything just I feel like I got 4 hours in me, man. Mm-hmm. 4 hours, we're gonna hit them hard, and then I'm done. Like right now, you could tell now though, we go out to gigs. I don't think I'm hanging out anymore.
No, right. But I think that's what makes it so you're just gonna, and it was fun. Like me and Sergio were hanging out, we're smoking cigars. It was a good time, and it's not like I sat there in the corner miserable.
Maybe I was waiting for the money. I remember, I vaguely remember that. I remember feeling bad.
Dude, it all worked out because the show that I was supposed to do sucked anyway. The dude, I messaged the guy. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna make it, and he was like, "Don't worry about it. It was 3 people there." Like who? And then I was like, part of me is just like, there's always that feeling as a comic, like I still want to make the gig. But then that night when I walked back, when I was going home, me and Sergio were walking back to the trains, and I'm just going, yo, this was a fun night. Dude, we got fed, we got paid good money, which you fucking set up. It was there was a Cuban dude rolling cigars for us.
Oh yeah. That I remember. Hey, you know what's funny is that you mentioned that, and like I opened one weekend, I remember, for Greg Rogel at Rasmus. And since I lived in Queens, and so did Greg, my job was to pick Greg up and then drive him there. He was headlining. And I remember that it was like the Friday night, and we're done with the shows. And I'm doing what you said. I'm mingling by the bar, bullshitting, having a great time. And then he comes over to me, and he taps me on the shoulder. He goes, "I'm ready to go." And I look over, and I'm like, all right, give me a second. I'm going to finish up. And he goes, then he goes, "No, I want to go now."
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, "What?" I want to go now. I want to leave now.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right. And then I had, that was kind of sort of my obligation, was part of the deal, was that I had to drive Greg to and fro, whatever. You were a young comic. All right, fine. And then I forget what happened, but we figured something else out for the next night because I wasn't going to do that again.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of the things that I've learned from watching you in general is the fact that this business is filled with a lot of misery. Mm-hmm. So it's like you're not gonna let this ruin your time in any which way. Like I rarely see you lose your cool. Rarely. Like, and that's incredible for how many years I've known you, I think it might have been like one instance or some shit, but generally to me, you're the guy who goes, like, let's just go with the flow.
So, anyway, back to you.
Yeah.
So, since this is going to be put up on my, it's part of a police Patreon page. I gotta ask you some questions because I'm switching it. Right. My one-on-one guest, I had to have somebody who was affiliated with law enforcement, and we can make fun. And this one, I was just like, I'm just going to bring funny people and annoy them with police questions. Sure. They annoy me all the time. Mm-hmm. So, have you ever been arrested?
Not in this country.
See, that's a great answer.
Right.
Wait, in India you got arrested?
No. If I was arrested in India, first of all, in India, you could pay your way out of getting arrested. Uh-huh. So, like, in India, one time my cousin, I think he ran a red light and he was speeding. Cops pulled him over. He gave them some money. We were out.
Isn't that great?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Great. People knock bribery, but if you really take the whole thing into account, I was speeding. I'm going to have to go to court. It's going to cost me a lawyer. I'm going to have to take off the day off of work. Hey, pal, how much do you want?
Right. And it's just like, and my money isn't going to that clogged system. It's going to you.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent. To me, bribery is part of the community in terms of keeping things in the community.
You know what? I hate to say it, but you're right. It makes things, because like, why get the whole system involved? You did wrong. I know you did wrong. I could rat you out, but we're gonna keep it quiet. This is between me and you.
Yeah, just a couple bucks to grease the palms. I have seen, what I also think is kind of important? When people that run businesses, like back in the day, used to just, like a cop would walk into a pizza shop and he'd be like, here's a couple slices and a Coke, And then it was like, and if there's some fucking riffraff that happens at the at the job,
Mhm.
the cops are like, yo, these are good people. I know this pizza spot. These are good people. Yo, let's make sure we take care of them.
All right,
Right?
now you're going a little too far. And then we're over here sanctioning corruption right now. You see how easy it is to turn a good cop dirty? We
This
just
is
2 seconds. What's the big deal? Really? How much brain power do you think it does to manipulate somebody from going? Not for nothing, but everybody's got a price too.
I'm just saying.
Like you open a trunk, you look in there. There's an AK-57. There's another bag. It's full of coke, and there's another duffel bag. And you open it up, and there's some money in there. At some point, you're gonna have to look through. Like, all right, this looks like it's over. Wait a minute. There's $1 million for each of us.
Mm-hmm.
How much is it going to cost for my defense attorney? How much is I used to say this in my act. 20 years on the job. I never got offered a bribe. I never got offered sex to look the other way. I never went into a trunk and it was full of money and drugs. 20 years, not once. You talk about bad luck. Not once in 20 years.
Nothing.
There's a line there that's a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And God bless them. There's a lot of people that there's no price to pay.
Right.
But and then there's some people that the price is pretty low.
Yeah.
I like to think, my price was the price that I can ask. If I sitting on trial, I could look out and go, listen, anybody else in this room turn down $2 million?
Yeah.
All right.
You better than me? No.
It's funny that we say that is that Mike DiStefano, God bless him, may he rest in peace. He used to have a joke. He goes, anybody that tells you they'd suck dick for $1 million would probably do it for a lot less.
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely. I didn't know he said that. That's very funny.
Yeah. That was a great line of his.
So I was in Australia. I was doing a semester abroad. And I was 20 years old. And
where were you? In Australia?
Australia. I was studying abroad there for a semester.
When was this?
This was when I was 20. So that was 16 years ago.
I've hung out with you every single weekend for the past last 5 years. I never heard this story once. You studied abroad in Australia? What are you, Hilario right now? You're making up stories about it?
I'm actually white. I'm not even.
So you're studying abroad.
Mm-hmm.
I always think it was funny too, by the way. I'm studying abroad. I always think about a girl.
Yeah. I'm studying abroad, and she gives me a look. I had class only on Wednesday. I scheduled all my shit.
Damn too. You go all the way to another country. Your parents think you're out there studying every single day, and you literally have class once a week.
Yeah, it was great. It was fantastic.
Oh, it's such a waste of time and money.
Are you kidding me? Are you nuts? I'm on the other side of the globe. I have class from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Wednesday. That gives me 6 days to do whatever the hell I want. We're talking travel, partying, you're 20 years old. Legal drinking in Australia is 18.
It's a long day, though.
Yes, it's a long day, but to have 6 days off sort of makes it worth it, right?
Anybody else build a schedule like that?
No, nobody else did.
It's a very Indian thing to do.
That was
we'll just get them all in one day, and then I'll have 6 days to myself. Meanwhile, you don't know what the fuck happened.
Oh no, absolutely. But the thing is, none of the classes were smart classes. It was cinema, it was creative writing. It was bullshit classes. But I'd hang out the rest of the time, right? I'm working out. I'm 20, so I'm when you're 20, you could just lift weights, and the next day you're seeing yourself get shredded. It's absurd. And I was drinking a shit ton, and it was incredible. I'm getting hammered every night and having the time. So one day I'm out with some friends. We are having a night, and we are just getting fucked up the whole night. And we visit a buddy whose friend is in the military. We're at the base. We're hanging outside the base drinking. They sell rum and cokes in a can in Australia. It's beautiful. So I don't think you'd survive Australia. I'm gonna say that right now. I'm gonna say it right. It's too much. I think it's too much for you. Too much for me. I think it's too much for you.
24-hour flight?
Well, I flew to India and I spent a month there, and then I went to Australia. So the flight was probably like 16 hours or some shit. So one night we're so hammered, and we pass by that. We leave this bar, and the bar has empty kegs outside of it. And I'm drunk out of my mind, and I go, yo, we need a side table. Why not just take this keg and I'll make a side table? We'll put a piece of wood on top. It'll be great. We need a little side table between the couches.
Makes sense.
Right. So I'm carrying this keg. And I'm a lot stronger then. So it wasn't that bad to carry this thing. Empty kegs aren't that heavy also. I think you've held one, right? They're not that bad.
Yeah.
So I'm carrying this thing, and then these cops come out of nowhere, and they're like, put the keg down. Where you coming from? Where are you going? And I was like, what's up?
Did they have guns?
I think so. Yeah, I think they. I don't remember, man. I was like also smashed, so I don't remember if they even had guns. They might have had like one gun. Who knows? Probably in the car.
Exploded.
Yeah. So they're like, where are you carrying that keg, mate? And I was like, oh, I was trying to be like fast on my feet, but I'm like drunk that I'm not, none of it's making. So I go, I saw some punk kids carrying this keg, and I decided to take it off them. And I was going to return it to the bar where I got these kegs. And they go, where you headed? And I was like, well, I was going to go home and bring the keg there and then bring it back in the morning. And they're like, what bar? And I was like, oh, it was like, this pub. And the guy, he looks at me and he goes, so you were going to take this keg basically a mile that way when it's like 4 blocks back. And I go, yeah, I was just, I was really tired. I didn't feel like going back to the bar and explaining. And he's like, yeah, that's the story, right? And I go, yeah. And he goes, all right, get in the car. And then he opens the trunk and he's like, put the keg in the trunk. And I'm like, can you at least help me with that? And he goes, really? You're going to carry the keg, mate, a whole mile. And now you need me to help you with the keg. And I go, all right, fine. And I put the keg in and I get in the thing. I'm arrested. I'm considered arrested. They bring me down to the precinct. And, they're like, what's up?
Did they cuff you?
No, they didn't. They didn't cuff me. Mm-hmm. And because I was like, once I realized, they sounded it out for me and they were like, this guy's an idiot. He's clearly, and I was caught in my bullshit web of lies. Then they were just like, come on. And I complied, right? That's the difference. I'm not like a guy who's I knew I was caught, man. Just take the fucking loss. That's the way I look at it. Uh-huh. So they bring me down to the precinct and they find out, they're like, oh, you're American. They're like, you realize we could throw you out of the country. We can give you the boot. You could be gone tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry. I fucked up. And they were like, but also I know they don't want to do the paperwork. Let's be honest here. You're going to kick a guy out of the fucking country over some bullshit. So they're like, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to leave. We're going to drop everything. Just don't do this dumb shit again. If we apprehend you throughout, you're immediately leaving the country. And I go, all right, cool. Thank you very much. And then I leave the precinct and I don't know where I am, man. I'm like in another town and I have no clue where I am direction wise. I go back in and I go, hey, could somebody give me a ride to my, and I'm gonna tell you right now, dude, they looked at me and like, it wasn't even like a reaction that they had like a facial reaction, like, and I was like, okay, got it. I just left and I walked home like 4 fucking miles.
What's funny though, because the fact that you could actually go in there and do that, we have a thing that we say about you. Casey's got a tone about him.
Yeah, oh yeah.
He's got a tone about him.
Yeah.
Right? And just the fact that you can go in there and you couldn't script that any better, by the way. Mm-hmm. Because you are that character, the guy that would actually go back in there and go, hey, anybody can get a ride back?
Yeah.
It's like, we're just letting you go. We're just letting you go. We're letting you literally, like, we're saving you so much money and so much time, and you have the guts to come back in here and go, somebody give me a ride?
Yeah, it was a very dumb thing for me to do. I've done several dumb things since, but yeah, so that's the one time I was, I guess, arrested, but in another country. What other questions you got?
No, well, no, I was just because, if you really think about it, because I was thinking about, okay, well, I hate to break this up, but it's just a fact, like Indian people don't get locked up that much.
They don't. They generally don't.
And as far as the Indian people that I dealt with when I was a cop, most of them were alcoholics.
Yes. Domestic disputes?
Yeah, there was a lot of domestics, and I remember one time I had a warrant for this Indian guy, and when I came to his house, right, the two ladies that answered the door, one of them was obviously his wife, and I guess the other one was either the mother-in-law or the mother. And I always treat everybody with respect when I first walk in. I give you the benefit of the doubt the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you if this person's home. If you say no, I'm going to leave. I'm going to come back. But the next time I'm going to have to search, especially if I think you lied to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I show the picture. Is he home? And they go like this to me, yes. And they're like pointing upstairs, please. And they're begging me, please take him. Please take him. Actually, the funny part is that it wasn't my warrant. I was working with Mike and Danny. And it was one of their warrants. So when it's not your warrant, you kind of sort of step back and let the other person do the talking.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember going upstairs, and this guy was in his bed, and he was drunk, very nasty.
Mm-hmm.
And Mikey was a very nice guy, smaller guy. And he's saying, hey, buddy, come on, you got to get up. We got to take you back to court. And he's like, fuck you. I'm not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So Mikey's like, come on, guy, we got to take you back to court. You got to get up, man, my friend, you got to get up. Fuck you, I'm not going anywhere. And, Danny's like grabbing his leg and shaking his leg. Come on, buddy, we got to get up. And, all right, listen, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt for a minute or two. But at some point, what are we doing here?
Right.
So I just stepped up. I grabbed him by the legs. I grabbed two legs at the end of the bed, and I yanked him. Right here, face to face with me. Then I grabbed him by his neck like this, and I put him up against the wall. I said, "You're gonna get dressed now."
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "Okay." He gets dressed. We put him in the van, and now he's sitting back there, and they start asking him all these pedigree informations. Mind you, by the way, on the way out, they were like offering us everything. You want coffee? You want this, that? Thank you so much. Just to get a day of peace without this animal. Just being so disruptive to their family because he's a nasty drunk. Mm-hmm. Just to get him out of the house. That's what the fund police don't realize. There's a lot of this stuff where you're actually helping families out when you get this nuisance out of the house.
Oh, absolutely.
Even for a day or two, whatever. We get him in the car. He's cuffed behind him. Mikey starts with the pedigree questions. Whatever they are, just to reinforce them or make sure we got the right info, whatever it is. Hey, buddy, tell me your name again. Whatever it is that he's asking him, and he's not answering. Come on, man. I need to know this before we leave. Otherwise, I got to talk to your wife. He's not answering nothing. And then finally, come on, bro. And then he goes, he thought my name was Mike. I only talked to Mike, which he thought that was my name, which means he will only answer questions from me.
Yeah.
He doesn't respect these two guys because he gave him the gentle touch.
Right.
Me, I reminded him of home.
He
He respected me right away.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You're like his dad.
So I just told him, tell me your name. Give me your date of birth. He just whatever I wanted, but he only respected me the whole day.
Yeah. And how do you think those women feel because he doesn't respect them?
Oh, I'm so happy that I was you should have seen their faces. They were so happy because, you have to live with somebody who has a problem like that, especially alcoholism is like really nasty. You live with a junkie, they're up and down, you just put them in their corner in a room, you leave them by them, they're fine. It's annoying because, you got to give them money, but whatever. A drunk is nasty, disruptive, breaking stuff. like an animal, just walking through the house. So, especially in like a culture like that where the men are dominant,
Yes.
you know. So then you got to stand back while he's destroying everything or saying his nasty shit every day.
I've seen that firsthand. Like, I get it. So I see the necessity for police interaction, because it's just like, what are these two women going to do? How are they going to defend themselves if this guy decides to stop yelling and start swinging, right? He's just going to beat these women up.
Well, I'm sure it's happened.
Of course.
Probably happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So back to the point of, have you ever been arrested? That was interesting. The fact that you arrested.
Yeah, I've never been
American. You were arrested in another country acting American.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing more patriotic than being arrested in another
something
country.
that doesn't belong to you.
I really adapted well.
Just for a goof. It's not even something you need. Like that poor boy that they sent back to this country when he was dying. All he did was he was staying at that hotel. Once again in a foreign country. Remember the boy I'm talking about?
No.
Actually, Trump got him back. There was some political propaganda, I think in Korea, and he took a poster off the wall.
Yes, I remember this.
By the time they got in touch with us, the kid was 3/4 dead anyway. And then when he got here, it was DOA. It was like, nobody had any. They just send him back when they knew he was going to die.
So he died. He actually died.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's on the poster.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing with America. There's so much shit you can get away with. Like, we don't.
Especially now.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's just like in other countries, you tear down the king's poster, you're going to jail. You spit gum on the ground, you're going to get lashed with a cane.
Singapore, you can. It's like it's almost like out of Star Trek in a way. You visit this place that is immaculate, literally can eat off the street. It's pristine, it's perfect, until you go a little bit out of line. You know what I'm saying? And then you hit a fence that it doesn't just electrocute you, but it fries you to death.
Yeah.
Just taking the chance to step one step out of, so it's weird in a way. Like, you can have almost like New York in a way. Like, we brought it down to about 300 homicides a year, the NYPD did. And that was after it was, 2000 and better.
So, I grew up here. Like, I know what it was like. Like, my mom was mugged in our elevator in our building. Her engagement ring stolen, her wedding ring stolen, purse, and it's just like, this was in our building. Guy, knife to her throat. Like, this is like growing up in Queens through the late 80s and the 90s. It was not a safe place to be.
Anywhere in New York, by the way. I mean,
right.
If any place was the safest, it was Queens. Right.
Absolutely. No, of course. Not. It doesn't compare to places in Brooklyn and, of course, places in the Bronx. But still, crime was happening.
But you get to a point where, all right, you had your foot on the gas as law enforcement for all that time, and I always think about Bloomberg's third term. As at some point you get to 300 homicides, you got to take your foot off the gas a little bit,
right?
And let people be and let people breathe, and that wasn't the case at all. So now we're facing the repercussions of that.
Yeah, you said that before to me. You said that there's a line.
It was too much. So now we're going completely the other way. Like, I think they wanted to break it and expand it and move it, stretch it back out so people could breathe again. But now it just went like the dam's broken. We're gonna have to. It's all fucked up. How are we gonna fix this?
I think about how New York City. It's a city that's 24/7, right? You need law enforcement to be able to feel comfortable to walk home at night at 3 a.m. The fact that they don't have to be on every corner, I wouldn't say that, but they do need to have a presence there that keeps people in check.
Yeah, I think we're trained, even if you watch, footage of just what's gone on this past year with the riots and stuff. You'll have somebody from a particular group that was beat up. It's actually making a report with a police officer. Some guy, he was just throwing a rock at the police, but somebody came over and beat him up. So now he's making a police report about him getting beat up with a cop. Or just calling 911 when something, you're in the middle of, doing something illegal or a protest, or just the fact that we're so trained to call 911, to have the police resolve our disputes, even if it's your dog pooping on my lawn. It's not something that's handled between two grown adults anymore. I'm not going to, who bothers to have a conversation? And, the funny thing is like Eric Adams from Brooklyn said, if they're blowing off the fireworks, just go out there and ask them to stop. And then the lady who did got shot and killed.
So, right. So,
you should be able to handle some of these disputes right now on our own as civil people. But we've been so accustomed to relying on the police to solve even the simplest of disputes.
Right. I think that a lot of people don't, like, I had a dispute with my neighbor.
I know you were telling me about that. I felt bad.
Right. And it reaches a point where I have spoken to the person, I've spoken to management, and then it just becomes, well, now I don't have a choice. Like, I'm not the kind, and I think every situation has to be assessed accordingly, right? This woman telling these people to shut off the fireworks, there's, at least my neighbor, we know each other. No one's going to start swinging fists. We're going to be cordial. And if we disagree, then it has to be escalated or handled by somebody else.
Situation.
What's up?
That's because you're in that situation.
Right.
It depends on who's, because if I'm in that situation and I happen to live next door to somebody and they're playing the music that loud and it gotten to a point where I'm annoyed, I'm going to ask you once nicely, and then I'm going to choke the shit out of you, rip you out by your voice. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go in there, smash your music, and then everything. Because at some point, you like you said, you're either going to call the cops because I'm going to kill this guy, which I'd rather kill the guy first and then call the cops. Not kill him, but I'm saying, like,
solve your problem.
Yeah, just like, because that, to me, that's the way I grew up. That's the way they learn.
Right. See,
I'm held. I'm not in a lot of those situations like that anymore because I'm for some reason I'm blessed. Like I stay away from stuff like that because I know what's going to make me crazy.
Right, but this is the situation. That's the circumstance that I found myself in, where I'll have to resolve things face to face. And if they don't, to me, cops have always been, and I think that's the way I think that is the best way to treat it, where cops are a last resort.
Yeah, but now we're in a situation where you call the cops and then they go knock on the person's door and the guy's like, fuck you, I ain't doing shit. I could play my music as loud as I want. And then I'll come over and tell you, hey, Casey, listen, I'm sorry, man. This guy told me to go fuck himself. There's nothing I could do.
Really? Is that the situation? Can they do that?
Yeah.
So then where do I go then?
That's my point. I mean, I'm not going to put myself in harm's way. Who's going to back me right now? Is my job going to back me? Is the department going to back me right now if I, kick down this guy's door and give him the business? Tell him, shut up the music. I don't want to have to come back here again. If you do, I'm locking you up. I mean, it runs the gamut. How many people, how many mothers did I get coming up to me or calling me? Oh, listen, my son cut out of school. Can you come over here? I just want to scare him. No,
right.
That's not what police is supposed to be for. Like to come in and scare your kid. That's your job. Be a freaking parent.
Right.
Calls I used to get like that. Oh, can you come and scare my kid just a little bit? No, that's not what cops are for, man.
What does that say about the culture of cops, though? The fact that, that people have that fear of them, right? In a way.
You should have a certain amount of fear for law enforcement because they can take your, I think that's what makes this whole movement have some steam behind it, because The truth is, people fear the power that you get when you're an officer is, look, you could have I was just watching DSK, Dominique Strauss-Kahn, the Netflix special, Room 28 or 86, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
About one of the most powerful men in the world being walking out of the precinct by Stephen Lane and Mikey Rama. Mikey was one of the guys in the story that I was telling you about with the Indian guy. And Stephen Lane. These are two detectives I work with. You can have more money than God. And the two people that are going to bring you back to justice, level you out, is going to be two detectives that make, it's like 10 cents to you. You spit it, it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They make, if with overtime they make $100,000 a year, you're making $100 million a year, and you can't stop this guy from taking your rights away. So that's how powerful. It's how much power you have as law enforcement. The only thing is how you wield it. You know what I'm saying? And that's why when this momentum is taking place, the people that are looking to, take the power away from law enforcement, this is when they thrive. They're going to ride this roller coaster. But even in Oregon, if you look Portland right now, there's a big problem. Right? I think they're having abandoned their city council, or they're suing their city council for passing this defund the police bill. Maybe it's Minneapolis. One of them is doing that. The citizens are suing their city council. Meanwhile, they elected them. So how far is that lawsuit going to go? But yeah, I mean, there has to be it's all going to get resolved in the not too distant future with AI and robotics. We were just talking about this, Connie and I, yesterday. You're going to have, I saw robots dancing. Did you see that video?
I'm sure I've seen a video of robots dancing.
No, but there's a brand new one. And these robots they're really dancing. One's dancing, and another one comes out and dances with them, and then a little dog robot comes out, and they're all dancing together. And they're dancing good. It's not too long before you may have a cop going out and a robot. Mm-hmm. And when it comes time to shoot somebody, it's going to be the robot who's going to be able, because a cop is not a good enough shot. Everybody's like, why didn't you just shoot him? Even the fucking idiot right now, Joe Biden. Why didn't he shoot him in the leg? Mm-hmm. You can't. That's not the way we're trained. You're trained to shoot center mass.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You don't want. It's too small of an object. Mm-hmm. Anybody who's ever known anything about law enforcement knows this is the biggest part of your body. That's why you shoot there. We shoot to stop, not to kill, but to stop.
Yeah, but
the leg, you can't aim for the leg because that bullet could go out and kill somebody else.
And also, there's the life risk is there already, right? That's why the gun is drawn in that situation.
There's going to be a time in a not too distant future where you're going to go out with a robot who's going. They're the way those robots dance in that video. They're going to be able to train their specific eye, and you could look at the target, zero in on it, and just blow the knee right out using the robot.
Do you think that there are certain cops who, knowing that they, like, about cops having that power, right? Yeah. Do you think that some cops abuse that power?
Well, I'll put it in a comedy term. It's the same guy that never got laid in his whole life, but now he's getting a little bit of attention because he's a comic, and then he's being a douche with it. Mm-hmm. Hitting the God forbid the female fans that they have, like shit. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I mean, we've seen the stories already. Who is that guy? It's the guy that nobody ever paid attention to before, and now he's got a little bit of power, and he's going to wield it in a usually not in a good way.
Right.
Are there people like that are bigger pricks? Absolutely, but that just goes with anybody who has a little bit of power. Mm-hmm. That's how you check somebody's character. Give them a little power. See what they do with it.
Yeah, this is why I shouldn't have any.
Nah, you'd probably be fine.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Probably your temperament, Yeah. And a lot of it is communication too. Usually, the person that has trouble communicating verbally has the bigger problem.
Do you think that the criteria for becoming a cop is too easy?
How could it be any tougher? the irony is that you have all these people yelling and spitting in cops' faces. And meanwhile, you're spitting on somebody who has at least minimum 2 years of college, plus 6 months in the academy. Minimum. Most of them have degrees. So now you're spitting in some college graduate's face, because they chose to serve instead of take.
I've had other friends of mine who are cops. Like, this is the thing. I feel like I'm in an interesting place, right? Because
hold on 1 second right now. 1 second. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in an interesting place as a person because, one, I'm a person of color. Two, I grew up in Queens, so I've got a lot of friends who are cops. So it's like a very interesting place that I kind of stand in because it's, I understand both sides to a degree. But like one thing that a cop friend of mine has said time and time again, he said that the psychological evaluation is too loose, that they should judge cops harsher on the psychological exam. And what do you think about that?
I don't know. I think it's as good as it could possibly be. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is the criteria? Okay. Because now we can get into a really specific thing. Okay. Let's say, for example, have you ever been a witness to domestic violence? Yeah. How? I saw my father hit my mother once. Okay. Disqualified because, you might have a violent reaction just based on some stupid nonsense, right? Now, who's more, has a bigger, who uses drugs more, what community, who's drinking more, who doesn't have an absentee father, who is more likely, what's the number, the amount of domestic violence abuse cases, and what is the ratio between them, and what color the people that call up the most for domestic violence? Okay, so that question is deemed inappropriate because it's biased. Next question. So we could just go down and down the list. So you run into like it's so tough to, there's basic questions that I can ask you, like, are you a big fan? Like, what, are you a big fan of guns?
Right.
What's your favorite gun? Have you, if you could shoot a gun, or what type of gun would it be? You like big guns or small? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a whole bunch of those questions too. So I think it does as good as it can. At some point, listen, in order to get a more qualified candidate, you'd have to pay more.
Right.
So instead of upping it, we want 2 years worth of college now. I want 4 years worth of college. I want a degree. All right. So now you got to be competitive in the market. If I can go out with a 4-year degree and make, 60 grand, why would I start out with 30? I could just go to the FBI, or I can go to the ATF. You know what I'm saying? You have to really have
well, I think cops in Europe, they have that. It's longer education period and more money, right? And as a result, less incidents. But then again, it's a different situation, right? Because
I don't know whether you're talking about Europe, but you're also if you're talking about England, they have a different sentiment, like as far with law enforcement. Like law enforcement, they don't have as many guns there. They don't have any guns really. They wanted to ban knives.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, think of how absurd that is, that to ban a knife because they were all stabbing the shit out of each other. So in America, there's no way you're going to be able to backtrack from the guns. There's people who have right now, when they watch what was going on TV with these protests, they would go to a gun shop every day or every week and buy a new gun, stockpiling.
Yeah.
The average Joe in a neighborhood has 50 guns in his basement for some reason.
One of the things I remember listening to, I don't know where I heard this. I was listening to an interview with the guy. It was NPR. I was listening to NPR, and the guy who was the union rep for the city in which George Floyd was killed, he was one of the guests. And he said something that I think I agree with in terms of police officers. He said that he doesn't think that they should be less funding. He thinks that there should be more. And as a result, the money gets used, allocated properly. That police officers aren't the ones responding to situations that are, you know what I mean? Like if it's just like a situation where a social worker is necessary or an EMT is necessary, then why send over police when it shouldn't be that situation?
Yeah, I mean, the threat is that we're going to take away dealing with homeless, and we're going to take away dealing with emotionally disturbed people. Mm-hmm. That's a burden that the police departments have been saddled with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants those. There's not one cop that ever comes on the police force and go, you know, I really want to help emotionally. I want to get the homeless people off the street.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? No, they want to arrest bad guys. They want to arrest robbers and murderers and rapists and, you know, burglars, all that stuff. That's what that's what you're signing up for, to be a cop. And now you're on the homeless outreach unit, mm-hmm. getting homeless people off the street into a shelter.
Right.
Like, you know, why am I doing this? That's not what I was trained for. It's not why I came on the job.
So you think other people should handle it?
Of course. The only reason why the police departments get those jobs is because they're usually the most organized and the best run departments and can handle this. And why mm-hmm. not give them one more freaking thing to do? Mm-hmm. So if you want to get social workers and clinicians to take care of the homeless and take care of the emotionally disturbed people, then do it. The only problem is that there's a violent nature to both of those things. And at some point, you know, you're overpaying. That's what the cities always realize. We're going to send a clinician who evaluates how violent this person is. I mean, 911 operator? Mm-hmm. Let me just call them up. They don't see what's going on here. Right. So before we send an unarmed clinician, we're going to have to send armed uniformed officers over there who are going to deem it, okay, this is not a violent situation. Call in the clinician. How do they get there? Mm-hmm. But a police officer driving them there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
For the same job, we took 4 police officers where we only needed 2, mm-hmm. and 1 clinician.
Right.
So I understand what they're trying to do, mm-hmm. you know, but you got to just. It's really, really difficult when you're dealing with these people, because emotionally disturbed people are emotionally disturbed. You don't know when they're going to freak out. Mm-hmm. It happens, you know, all the time. You could ask social workers. Half the jobs they're supposed to go to, they go there once and they don't go back because you just write on the report, you know, I need to go with a police escort.
Right. Yeah, no, I have a friend who works in the DA's office, and she's told me were situations where they sent in a social worker, and the social worker was threatened. They had a knife held to them. That, you know, they were flashed a gun, and they had to go there with cops. And it's just like, so that becomes a complicated issue. It's just that I don't think that, like, the whole defund the cops, like, as somebody who has friends that are cops, I don't believe in that, because I just don't think that to get the life that we lead here in New York City, you need police officers. It's just what it is. You know?
Well, I think a lot of it comes from the fact that you have politicians who are looking at their budgets. Mm-hmm. They're trying to figure out. There's two trains of thought I have. They're looking at their budget and they're trying to figure out, well, how can we use more money, or I always say steal more money. A lot of it is going to this freaking police, right? Well, that's how we're going to skim some of the money they get. And we're going to say it's going to this other thing, but it's really coming back around in my pocket. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much what I believe. But they also see that if they run into a problem and the numbers spike up, they've done it in the past, the federal government will step in and give them money to hire new recruits, to get more equipment, mm-hmm. to get the numbers down. They did it in New York City. I was part of that program. It was called Safe City, Safe Streets.
I remember that program.
The federal government gave money to New York City to cut, and that was a result of what happened, the decline in crime. So during these times, when we can show a huge spike in crime and we need help, the federal government is going to come in and they're going to pay for our police department. You know what I'm saying? But when we choose, if they're not going to give it to us, why not to fund it and then go, hey, we need help. They're killing us over here. Federal government, give us money. I spent that money on something else. I'm getting the federal government money, and to cover that, we're all even again.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So that because the police, like, how many things do you have that you can maneuver? Usually the police budget. And now what is the federal government going to do? When the federal government sends you money because you're screaming that the crime is so high in your place, they're going to make sure that you only use that money to hire more cops or for more equipment. You can't tap that money for any other project, right? They know that, and they're fine with that. No,
so then, don't you understand that for the past like 5-6 minutes or whatever, we've been talking about how there's no real clear solution, okay? Where it's just like, if you pay the cops more money and you ask for more training, then they would rather get a job with the ATF or the FBI. Then it also becomes, okay, if that doesn't work, then maybe it's have other people take care of the jobs, right? Have social workers, clinicians take care of it. And then you said to me, well, this wouldn't work because you're going to need a cop present there in case they're emotionally disturbed or situations arise. So taking those into account, wouldn't you understand why somebody would be so frustrated where their only response would be, well, just defund the police entirely. Let's just save the money.
Listen, I think they started with something brilliant in Minneapolis. I think they should have kept it going.
What did they do in Minneapolis?
Chaz. I mean, everybody, what was that called? Chaz?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, that autonomous zone where the police were.
Oh, that was in Seattle. Right.
Yeah. Okay, Seattle. Because my whole thing is like, listen, every single state is its own thing. You know what I'm saying? That's the beauty of this country. So if they want to try this experiment, let them. And anybody in this country that wants to live in a place like the Wild West, where the frontier, where there was no law enforcement, you fuck taxes and all this shit. There should be a place where you can go and you can live that free. And if you wanted to fund the police, everybody in this country, same thing with Oregon. You want to legalize drugs? The only problem I have with that is that they should give the people the drugs, not just legalize it, give it to them. Where they don't have to look for it or steal or bother anybody. That same person, if you just give them the drugs, you just cut out 3/4 of their day. They don't have to look for drugs. They don't have to find a way to get the money to get for drugs. They got the drugs in their pocket. They can go about their business. They'll be a lot more resourceful. They'll go back to doing whatever the hell they wanted, including trying to get help now. You know what I'm saying? So you have 2 states where they want to do that. Let them do it. This way, if you're a drug addict over here and you get arrested, the judge can say, listen, I'm going to put you in prison, or I can give you a one-way ticket to Oregon. What do you want to do? I'll go to Oregon.
Right, of course.
All the drug addicts from all over the country, let them live there. And the government can fund them. Let them fund them.
Yeah.
Well, they do it all over the country anyway. Why not focus in one place? That's such that typical let's put them on an island mentality. But it is. That's the way they want to live. They fought for it. That's what they did with their city council. Let them have it. You have the right to have it. If that's what you vote for, you should have it. And everybody who wants to live like that can move. Look at what's happening in New York City and in LA and these big cities. People with money are choosing to move rather than stay and fight. Moving to they moved to Austin, Texas, Nashville, Florida. These seem to be like the places that these people move in, the Carolinas. And instead of staying here and fighting. So now what do you do when you're here? If you don't have enough money to leave, you're screwed. You know what I'm saying? Right. You're basically at everybody's beck and call.
So You don't think there's a solution for all this, for the police situation in the United States, other than
I think people should be able to vote
Mhm.
for whatever they want. If they
Right.
vote for the defund the police, then they should have to reap. They should have to vote again before they can get out of it.
Mhm.
You can't say defund the police, vote for defund the police, shit hits the fan, and go, whoa, wait, no. You don't get any federal money. You don't get any help, because what these people are doing right now is they're reaching out to the municipalities, the police departments that surround them, and they're asking them for help.
Mhm.
Why? Why am I going to give you my manpower?
Mhm.
Put my people over here at risk. You voted for this shit, you deal with it. When it comes up again, you're going to vote against it if you
Mhm.
want to make it better. If you're not, then you just go to shit.
Yeah, man, I don't buy. I don't. That's not a way that I would. You know what I mean? That's, to me, just doesn't give a lot of safety to people. It just doesn't help out. Essentially, that's the way I look at it.
But let me ask you a question. What's more American voting?
Right. I get it.
They voted for that.
Hmm.
They voted for the defunding the police.
Where?
Shit in Oregon.
Mhm.
Portland. Now shit hit the fan, and
Mhm.
they're asking for help.
Right.
They're saying we made a mistake.
Mhm.
So hold a referendum, vote again, put it official on paper, get the money from somewhere,
Mhm.
and then put it back in. Tax your people so they learn. That's the way you learn from the mistakes.
Mhm.
You know, by going and getting municipalities from surrounding counties to come in and help them with that's a patch. It's a temporary fix. You learn nothing. You're
Mhm.
saying there was a spike in crime here. No, this is what happens when you allow lawlessness to take over. And you need to learn your lesson.
Yeah, but that
But
doesn't.
maybe if you give them enough time, they'll figure out a solution. How can people solve these problems on their own? Maybe we're doing it wrong.
Mhm.
Let this place be the experiment.
Right.
Same thing with Oregon, with the drugs.
Mhm.
Let it see what happens.
I think that the one thing that I remember seeing when I was growing up was community outreach with police officers and people, and I think that was probably one of the more successful things.
What is that, your dog?
No, I think that was just me scratching something.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no, it was that I think was really successful, was when police and the community kind of had like a relationship.
Yeah, but you're talking about well, the problem with that is that when you have these riots,
Mhm.
the cop of the month is forgotten because you're getting people who are coming from to create anarchy from other states. So they don't care the relationship that the police have built up within the community, with the community.
Mhm.
They're going to come 8, 10, 20 of them, which is all that you need to start a shit show.
Mhm.
And they're coming from other states, and they're
Right.
throwing rocks, Molotov cocktails, and making the situations very, very difficult to handle, breaking windows, burning stores. That type of anarchy is created for somebody that lives in another state.
Mhm.
So what difference does it make what type of relationship the police has with the community? But that's the purpose of it, though. The reason why they come from other states is because they want to show the police that no matter what you do, it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
You know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think no, you're right. There are people that do that. There are people like that. It just comes with the job, unfortunately. So there's just, but I think that it can be improved. Yeah, I think that it can.
Improved by saying if you get arrested in another state for either a hate crime or something that has to do with protesting or rioting,
Mhm.
then there has to be a penalty that comes along with it.
Like banish.
You to protest in your own state, but
Mhm.
if you cross state line and you get arrested for protesting, there should be a mandatory 5 years in prison.
Mhm. Yeah, okay, I can understand that.
You know what I'm saying? Because
right.
you can't come to my neighborhood and start a riot or start throwing bricks at the police.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
and completely anonymous, dressed in black. Get it back on your bus or in your train or in your car. Go home. Go to another location. That's exactly what was going on.
I just think of that as such a funny thing, like a guy who's a gym teacher. He lives in like Connecticut, and then he like drives into Queens, starts throwing bricks, and then gets back into his car and goes home, kisses his wife and kids goodnight.
You know, it's funny, but if you really think about it, think about it in terms of comedy. You got a gig. You're going to get paid a certain amount of money. There's money that comes along with it. I would imagine a hotel room, depending a flight. And I would imagine there's bonus points for making TV, getting arrested. The irony is that depending on what the case was, they're all the chickens are coming home to roost right now. All these people that Molotov cocktails and they got arrested for doing that, or they got caught in a video and found out who they were. At some point, whoever is backing you financially and has promised to cover your legal bills for you to be, a mercenary. I'm giving them a great word right now, but they are in a way. Whoever's giving you the money for this, depending on who's in charge in the administration, like if Trump would have won again, those people are fucked.
Right.
Because, I'm not going to pay for your legal bills anymore the next 4 years. Get out of here. We're going to have to wait 4 years. You're on your own. They would have been screwed. Now, probably those same groups that were going to, pay for their lawyers and get them reduced sentences, and they're probably going to be able to get that deal. It's still going through.
I like that solution that you came up with. Like, that's the thing. I think about how to fix these things all the time, right? Like, I think about that whole idea. Like, if you come in from out of state and you're destroying property in this state, you're from Connecticut, you're breaking windows here in Brooklyn, and you get arrested. You come back to New York for any reason, and you're causing trouble, mandatory sentence. I strongly believe that, because that's an active level of violence.
Well, it takes away the community relationship with the police. That's
exactly.
The specific goal of it. Well, where you're telling me, we should, have a relationship with the police, those were the good old days. It was.
Right.
But it only works under specific circumstances. Now you're at a point, right? Anybody who gets shot by a cop, whether they had a gun, whether they fired at the police first, they could have let go of Uzi clip. They get shot in the ankle, they're still alive. You don't know whether there's going to be a whole bunch of people coming and protesting. And none of them could be from your neighborhood.
Right.
People in the neighborhood could be fuck Ray Ray. The guy was a dick. He raped my sister. The other guy, you know what I'm saying? I was so happy he's gone. But you get people coming from all over the country right now. And they're all part of these groups that, even though they're small, they get a lot of attention. They're small in the whole scope of it.
Right, they are. And it's like, I don't think that, and not all of them are causing trouble. Like, people who come from Connecticut to protest are not they just may come from Connecticut to protest and then they leave.
That's the thing. We learned from George Floyd. You can protest wherever you are for George Floyd. You don't need to go to another neighborhood. So if you want to protest in your own neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Because I guarantee you, it's not going to be the same result. How am I going to yell at a cop that I know brings me a turkey every Thanksgiving that happened over here? I could get out there and say Black Lives Matter all I want, but then before I start, I'm going to be like, hey, John, how's it going? All right, Black Lives, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't want to kill this guy because I know that guy is good. He didn't kill George Floyd.
Right.
But I have to represent.
People who go to protest, they're not all, obviously not everyone who's protesting is a piece of shit, right? They're all, some of them are just there to be supportive, and that's fine too.
One thing with protesting right now is there's two different protests that happen. First of all, there's the protests that happen during the day.
Yeah.
And then the protests that happen at night. What happens is the groups come and they berate the police and call them a piece of shit and tell them that their kids should die of cancer. That's during the day. That's the nice part. And then at nighttime, that's when they start throwing the bricks and the Molotov cocktails and the bottles of ice. That happens at nighttime.
Right.
So they're telling you it's a peaceful protest. Remember I told you about I hope your kids die from cancer? That's the peaceful part of it. And then at nighttime, when the sun goes down, that's a different protest. So when they're telling you the protests were peaceful, they're only giving the words. When you are beating up, you know how you beat a piece of meat,
right?
Before you marinate it. That's what they're doing to the cops, because they know that they got them there for 4 or 5 hours marinating, getting them on their freaking nerves. And then once the sun goes down, you can't see my face, and boom. And now we're going to start recording because they freaked out because they've been beating on them all day.
Yeah. See, this is where you and I look at it fundamentally different, right? Because you look at just these protests, the bad sections, the part that's recorded, the part that's fed to us. I focus on the aspect of the protests where people do march even at night and nothing happens. The majority of those and that's what the majority is. It's not every protest turns into a full-blown riot. If 10 people get arrested.
We're arguing the same thing right now, because you said that I only focus on the part that makes the TV, and so does the other side. Because the other side only focuses on, look at the police brutality, look at the way they're attacking the people. But they don't see the backstory. They don't see the 5 hours that we were standing there during the day when you were hurling insults at me. Now, the only thing we're watching right now is, the after effect of it. So it works. It works both ways.
Yeah, I understand that.
There's still people out there marching peacefully at nighttime. Yeah. But they're also infiltrated, and none of them are giving the people up. Actually, that's not true. I've seen plenty of video where somebody's like, "Hey, what are you doing? Why are you writing on that window? Or why are you breaking that window? Going into that store? Stop! This is our neighborhood. We're just protesting." But that's when you start seeing it's bigger than protesting. This is about a shift in government, economics, the way we live.
Right.
The whole movement that's going on. We're part of it, The same way COVID is running around and finding everybody and tapping everybody and making sure, testing your immune system. It's the same way that moves around the country like this. Constantly testing, constantly trying to destroy, push boundaries back. So at some point, something that may never even be conceived as being reasonable sounds reasonable. Okay, just give them that. You know what I'm saying?
How great would it be if we find out that this isn't even my home? I just invaded it a few months ago, and I've just been sitting here the entire time.
I've been doing. He's in the back.
Yeah, this is just a tied-up family over to the left.
I saw a hostage sneak out of the room there earlier.
Yeah, the scratching was actually somebody trying to get out.
They're calling for help.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think we got sidetracked into serious talk, but I think we had a lot of funny stuff there, a lot of funny moments.
Right.
The problem with you is that I'm used to taking 3-hour rides with you.
I know.
We could talk for 3 hours.
Right. And there's a lot of stuff that you and I fundamentally disagree with. But what I do appreciate is the fact that there's still a conversation. It doesn't devolve into a shouting match. It doesn't devolve into people being angry. It's just a conversation. So, which I think is also the most important part, is the fact that it happens. Listen, man, there's a lot of shit that you say I just don't agree with. I adamantly think that these solutions can be found. I think that there's a lot of things that can be fixed, and I don't know the answers. A lot of the stuff, your view of it is like, listen, this is corruption on this, that. And I'm like, yeah, but I think that there could be some hope. Not to say that you're hopeless in this, and not to say that I'm too hopeful, but I think that we have different value, not values, but we see different.
How much that has to do with me being a cop either. It's just between the two of us. Like you said, you live there peacefully with your neighbor who, for all we know, might play the music loud tonight. And you know what I'm saying? You're going to be sitting there bugging out, and then you're going to write another letter where I would go back, and I'm going back there with a baseball bat.
Fortunately, I've got a good relationship with the local police here, because, that's just how it's been. Because I know there's a guy who I know in the precinct that's a friend. So it's all good for me. Like the situation, I'm in a very fortunate place. But I think getting back to it.
Listen, I don't think there's anybody that you're going to get along with. I know I don't. I disagree with most people on everything all the time.
Right.
And sometimes if I agree with you too much, I think there's a problem. I have to start disagreeing with you. I'd like to be, I'd like to disagree. I hate to go with, everybody has beards. I'm shaving mine.
Right.
You know what I mean? Fuck you and your beard. I hate it. I don't want to be part of you. I hate, like anytime I start to become part of a group or part of, something like that, I always look to distance myself for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, no, that you are very, separate from the pack in that regard.
Yeah, I wind up hating it. Like, if too many people are part, I don't want to be part of any group that wants me. You know what I'm saying?
But I do like the fact that we can have these conversations and they're always civil at the very least. You know what I mean? No one's yelling at each other. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people should be able to take. Like one of my best friends.
Ideas. I'm like, I don't have a finished thought. I'm always open to learning new things. And I think what the problem right now is that we're being asked to have a certain amount of knowledge on too many things, especially things that we're not interested in. There's a bunch of people that, know or have knowledge about politics that are not interested in politics at all, but they feel like they have to have them. So once you make up that choice, you're good. I'm like, no, I don't want to hear anymore. I'm not even into politics. This is my thing. I want to go back to doing whatever. And I sympathize with that person because, not everybody's into it. You know what I'm saying? And we're being forced. Otherwise, you sound stupid. Like, what do you mean you don't know? You didn't know what happened 5 minutes ago?
Right.
That's how fast the news cycle means. It means you're uninformed. You're not paying attention. How do you know? You didn't see what happened to Hilaria?
Yeah.
Which we'll close on this. What do you think about that, by the way?
I
think it's hilarious.
Boo. Boo. No, I mean, so many people go to Europe and they come back. Like, there's so many people that do that. They go back, they go there, and then they take a bit of the culture. How many times do you see a woman go to Jamaica and she comes back with dreads? Like,
yeah.
Like, you see that shit. You know what really upsets me, though, is the fact that people are upset that she's been pretending to be from Spain. This woman's a yoga instructor. She's been doing Indian shit for years. Nobody gets angry at that, so she's doing a job that's like an Indian job, technically. And we're all just focused on the fact that she says she's from Spain.
Yeah, it's funny that nobody gives, like, yoga is not something that's associated with India anymore.
Right.
You'd be far, even if you ask yoga instructors, I bet you a lot of them don't even know the origin of it.
They're not, and I'll do yoga from like YouTube videos. Not one of them is somebody Indian. They're always a white woman. You
know what's funny too? Is like, you're allowed to if you're a woman, you're allowed to get away with so much bullshit. Like, you could have push-up bra, wearing Spanx. You know what I'm saying? Get your lips done.
Is that what you want? Are you upset that you can't do those things?
What I'm saying is that, so it stands to reason that why wouldn't you just make up like another thing or make the rest of your life more interesting? You make tits more interesting, your ass looks more interesting. You know what I'm saying? With so many things we make up now, you know what I'm saying? So it's, as men, we've kind of almost accepted that, all right, she might be crazy, but she's... So I think the whole idea is like, first of all, who's looking at her page that is not a fan?
Right.
If you were a fan, why would you say something negative? So that's where the haters come in. They spend a lot of attention paying attention to somebody's page just to hate on them.
Right.
Like, how much time do you have on your hands, really?
And also, it's not like she was benefiting from this aspect, right? It's not like, you know how Rachel Dolezal was like getting awards from the NAACP? Yeah. This woman, she just married a crazy celebrity. the attention we gave her is on us. We did this.
Uh-huh. And I saw somebody posted, remember Friends, right? The show Friends. And like, it would have been very easy to have an episode where somebody puts on an accent just to get with the girl or the guy. And then it winds up working out. And then one of them goes, well, how long are you going to keep this up? And like, I don't know. So that's what happened. Like, in order to like get his attention, whatever, she had to do this Spanish affect and then be from Spain. So she's exotic. And she had him. And then especially in the beginning, because if you look at their wedding, I think the song that they danced to, her song, was by Juan Miguel, like Contigo, which is like together. And, half the music was in Spanish and half the sermon was in Spanish. So she had to play up that whole thing because...
This is such an incredible sitcom episode. The fact that it was just supposed to be a couple dates and maybe she would but it just kept progressing and then worse and worse. And now she has like kids with Spanish names. This whole thing's blown out of proportion. I feel worse for her more than anything else.
Well, yeah, I feel bad for him too, because it's like, it's another thing he's got to deal with it now, and it's like, he has very thin skin to begin with. The irony of is that he played Trump, somebody with thin skin, on SNL and mocked Trump and his wife, and now the thing has come back and right in the it always gets you right in the back of the head. You want to talk shit. And you want to talk shit about somebody, but you're the same fucking person.
Right.
You're the same person. He's always fighting with somebody, choking somebody.
Yeah.
Some comment that he made, some guy who probably had his powerlifting picture in there. He said, shut the fuck up, Roy boy. Like, I love that fight in him. I do, because I'm from here. Yeah, I know the guy. I never met him, but I know that type of guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, the guy who's ready to throw hands all the time.
Yeah, I definitely admire and I respect it. But I respect it too because he's got to stick up for his girl.
Yeah, he's got 5 kids.
Yeah. That's another whole thing that's really bizarre. 5?
I think she's Irish Catholic, right? Or
They've been together for 6 years.
They're probably not using condoms.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying. 5.
Right.
5.
Yeah, he has to. Literally, his entire fortune rests on him having. You think he wakes up in the morning, he's like, all right, another day of this. Here we go.
Work. I haven't seen a movie in the last 10 years he hasn't been in.
Right.
The guy's in everything. He's on TV. He's doing commercials.
Movies, everything.
He's my guest on the podcast next week. I got him. But seriously, I mean, like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah. That's great.
It's crazy, man. All right, bro. What do you got planned? You got anything coming up?
What today? I did a show yesterday for the first time in like a few weeks. That was nice. No, I got in terms of coming up. Actually, I host a game show where I have 2 podcast hosts come on, and they compete against each other in trivia, and then they do a scavenger hunt through their house.
Okay.
So I'd like to have you and Bill on at some point.
No, it's probably not going to happen. But I forgot the reason why I had you on, because I have to ask you this question.
Sure.
The whole basis of this show. And this is your moment, man.
Yeah.
Like I told you, I'm used to people asking me questions. So this is your moment. This is your time right now to ask a cop.
Oh, yes. Ask a cop. What percentage do you think cops are like excited to fire their gun?
That's probably a lot.
Yeah.
I would say it has to be more than 50%.
Absolutely. Yeah.
At least every once in a while. Just to
Right.
make sure it still works. I wasn't a big gun guy, to tell you the truth.
You're a big guy though, so there's really, you know what I mean? You swing your fists.
I think a lot of the problem is that they keep taking away weapons from you.
Mm-hmm.
People who aren't really comfortable with defending themselves, they took away the nightstick.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little baton that we used to use,
Mm-hmm.
flapjack, all these different weapons that we had. One by one, they took them away.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if you can't defend yourself with your hands,
Mm-hmm.
The first resort is going to the gun.
Right.
I learned at an early age, through martial arts and boxing. So I'm comfortable with my hands. I'd rather be more comfortable with my hands than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather not have a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I've been approached by people, even civilians. They always want to know. Oh, they look at my gun. Oh, I see what you got there. You got the Glock 19.
Mm-hmm.
15 in the clip, 1 in the chamber. What's your off-duty gun?
Mm-hmm. Can I ask another one? Can I ask one quick one?
Yeah.
Speeding tickets. Is there a quota?
If that's your function,
Huh.
you have to come in with a certain number. Everything is a number. Well, it used to be. I don't know how they do it now, but everything was a number. So everything had to do with like how much of the weekend do you have off?
Mm-hmm.
If you got a part of the weekend off, Friday and Saturday, you got Sunday and Monday, you're going to be responsible for writing or arresting a certain amount. If you got Saturday and Sunday, you basically sold your soul to the devil.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm responsible for writing, a book is 20 summonses, right? If I got to write 20 red lights a day to keep my steady days, I'm going to write them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's kind of sort of, I hate to say it, but that's really the way it works. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know how it works right now.
Yeah.
Now they probably got rid of the quota thing, supposedly. It's just the way the job worked back then.
I got one more. I'm sorry. One more.
Yeah.
This one kills me on a personal level. Why are most parking law enforcement, why are most of them Indian?
Well, those are traffic cops.
Traffic cops. Why are most traffic cops Indian in New York City? Because it breaks my heart when I see it.
Listen, I was watching that show on Netflix, and it was about there's a matchmaker from India, but
Indian matchmaker.
Yeah, Indian matchmaker. She comes to America and the one thing I noticed is, like, as far as Indian men, it seemed like you're either loaded, like you have millions of dollars, or you're very brilliant. You're like so smart. Well, I never really knew, like, in the Indian culture, watching this, like, do they have construction workers?
Right.
They have, like, who drives the bus?
Mm-hmm.
Who's the cop?
Mm-hmm.
And, like, where are these Indian men, these blue-collar Indian men?
Mm-hmm. Right.
You rarely ever, they're not seen, they're not projected.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as the NYPD goes, the traffic people, I guess because they're first generation, they just got here, maybe they're not comfortable enough to actually take the NYPD test. Their language isn't strong enough. So they'll take this test, write the summonses, and then eventually, when their language gets strong enough and they feel comfortable with their English, then they might take the police test and become a cop. Right,
or just stick as a traffic cop.
Yeah, that's most of them probably. If your English is gonna get up to par.
Does it pay less to be a traffic cop than a regular, or is it like the same?
Yeah, I think so. It's you talk about a thankless job. I mean, I don't see how anybody takes that job. But then again, we tend to shit on everybody's job that isn't ours either. So, God bless him, man. God bless it. They're out in full force in New York City, by the way.
It kills me. It kills me to see. I don't have a car anymore, but it kills me to see when I'm walking by and I see an Indian traffic cop just writing a ticket, and I just want to be like, bro, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, this is.
And they get abused too.
Yeah, of course.
Because somebody will come out. What the fuck are you doing? If it was like as soon as they see it's a traffic cop and it's not a real cop, then they. Up until actually getting arrested, they'll go that far. They know what, and then it's women too. Women are telling you, it's I don't know how anybody takes that job. God bless them that they do it. And they wear the same uniform, which is ironic.
Yeah.
We used to wear a brown shirt, and we called them brownies or meter maids. But listen, if you're first generation, you just got here, you got a job with benefits, sick days, you know what I'm saying? You get to put into a 401k. You know what I'm saying? Who's better than you?
Yeah, and then also there's like maybe a month worth of days where parking rules are suspended. So I'd imagine you're off.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, trying to find the people who are illegally parked in New York City is about as hard to find. I'm trying to think of something really easy, but I can't.
It's like finding gum on the sidewalk.
Yeah, I mean, really. There you got me.
Yeah.
Your girl came in for the second time. I think she's giving you the hint. Like,
I gotta make dinner.
Really? What are you making?
Salmon and broccoli.
All right, I got salmon here. I might make the salmon tonight.
Yeah, get an air fryer, dude.
I have an air fryer.
How good is salmon in an air fryer?
How do you do it?
It's like 7 minutes on like 380.
Yeah.
And yeah, I basically, I use an oil spray, and then I just season the top of the salmon with some like different seasoning. Or if you got mustard, put that on top of the salmon.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you for sitting down with me.
Of course.
Chatting with me.
This feels like it was just us in the car on the way
to the
gig.
I know. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to start now. You ready?
Yeah.
You got questions ready?
Here we go.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Definitely, man. Thank
Happy New Year.
Yeah. Happy New Year, dude. Are you doing anything special for New Year's? Just you and the wifey?
Very special.
Okay.
I'm going to spend it with Connie.
Okay. I thought I heard her in the background.
Hi, Casey.
Hey, how's it going?
She's back here.
Yeah.
She's been laughing the whole time.
Okay, good. All right.
Every time you say something. Whatever you say, she laughs at.
That makes complete sense.
All right, buddy. Love you, man.
Love you too, bro. Take care.
Hey, say hi to the missus. Say hi to Bruce.
Yeah. Let me go get him. I'll get him real quick. One second.
Let Bruce come in. I love Bruce. Hey, Bruce. What's up, buddy? Hi, Bruce. Hi, Bruce. Don't tell me you woke Bruce. Bruce looks like he woke up out of his sleep.
Oh, he was in a deep snooze. He was not happy.
Man, I feel bad that I did that. I'm sorry, Bruce. I'm sorry.
It's all good. He'll get over it.
I love him. All right, later, buddy.
Later. Take care, bro.
Yeah. Bye.
You too.